Hello, welcome to April 28th, 2023. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation video. This is something that I do each and every morning, a little bit after waking up. It's now about 4:44 a.m. I'm running about 15 minutes late. It's okay. It's a Friday on, which means I start in my day half an hour early. So actually, I'm kind of ahead of the schedule overall because I get an extra half hour this morning to squeeze in my morning ritual. This endeavor, the recitation of the Good Life Creed, is something that I require of myself each and every morning. And I do it without fail. I've done it for years. If I do it on a video like this is a bonus. It's the minimum I have to do it within my brain. But when it's a good day, and most days are good days, I can turn on the camera. I also bookend the recitation of the Creed with retrospect of the last 24 hours and a forecast on the other side of the coming 24 hours, namely to spot where and how I dealt with challenges and opportunities and to forecast what might lie ahead in the immediate future. So with that, let's begin. First, last night and yesterday was nearly identical. Last night was nearly identical to the night before insofar as I slept pretty much through the night, but then was awake at the last hour, but in a pleasant way, and kind of like a wakefulness that you might feel if you're on vacation in a nice hotel with windows open. You can hear the foreign sounds outside, maybe the sound of the waves if you're close to the water. A pleasant feeling, a feeling of relaxation and being awake and in the moment in some new environment. That's how last night felt when I woke up the hour before the alarm went off. Not the miserable feelings of anxiety that I've felt before relative to work. So I am awake again, but it's a pleasant kind of wakefulness. I don't mind it so much. I really have stopped, for the most part, stopped my worry. I'm awake, but I'm not worrying very much since deciding my retirement. I find my day is punctuated by the fun thoughts of that. It's like anticipating the best vacation ever. It's hard not to let it sink in. It's hard for it not to sink in. All right, with that, yesterday was a great day. It was a big, heavy day. It was the a fifth Go Live event in my big project, 5 of 8. And it went well, splendid, perfect actually. And we had a couple of little things, little speed bumps that we just slowed the car down and bumped over, but we did it. So 5 down, 3 to go. More than half of the project is now complete. Big event. Let's carry on and do the good life. My 7 objectives are to be always ready to die, to have my life settled, my affairs in order, my relationships in a good state, and I think I do. I have one that was a little bit rockier earlier in the week, but I don't think there's any more that I can do about that. I think I've patched that up. And just the human thing that comes once in a while. Nothing terrible. Just, adjusting the communication. So I got that in order. And then my life's purpose, my personal mission, which is the sharing of my book, Going Alone, I'm doing that every day. So yeah, number 1 is good. Number 2 is my second objective, that is to make good and effective use of my time. I don't think there's ever been a time in my life that I've made better use of my days than now. I've really got that tuned in. So many things I do throughout the day. So little wasted time. And at the same time, when I'm changing my whole perspectives on what that means. How interesting that I may be pulling the rug out from under the very thing I finally achieved. More on that later, maybe. Later in my life. That's an ongoing development that I'm not ready to report on yet because I need to see how it's going to unfold. It's a good thing, though. It's a good thing to have the rug pulled out from under our feet on the important stuff. Number 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, which I'm doing right now by talking about the good life. creed that is. Number 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions, to become someone who doesn't fly off the handle, and I pretty much got that under control. Number 5 is to perform good actions, just to do good things throughout the day. Number 6 is to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities so that I'm operating within the bounds of reason and reasonable expectations and not reaching for more than I can, farther than I can reach, further than my grasp. Grasping beyond my reach, that's the phrase. And number 7, the last objective, is to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully, just like I'm doing right now. And this doesn't come natural. I'm deliberately working at this very moment. I'm calibrating the cadence of my speech, letting my words out carefully, like squeezing air out of a balloon to make a funny sound. That's how I'm speaking right now. Normally I speak much faster, but since I do this so much now, since I practice this, it's become more of my way, just like my walking pace is now more of my way. I don't charge and race around like I used to. I'm more careful with my steps, careful footsteps. The next principle is to, oh wait, no, I'm done with the principles. I'm done with the objectives. I haven't even started the principles, have I? Here we go. The number 1 principle, or not number 1, but the first principle is the principle of war, which is my reminder to fight against the things that I think are true, to attempt always to tear down the edifice and ramparts of my personal worldview, destroy it if I can. I want to be, if I possibly can, I would love to die bereft of certitude. It's an endeavor. Every boy's got to have a dream. The instrument that I use in that war is the second principle, reason, which has the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, doubt, and humiliation. Being honest with myself and others. Objective in my worldview, a fierce skeptic, and eager to embrace the humiliation of discovering that I'm wrong. The third principle is the homunculus, the reminder that I don't have a soul, but I do have a consciousness. I call that thing my homunculus. And the reason I call it that is that I give it a home, which is the fourth principle, the anchor hold, which is the rampart and fortification of my mind. My consciousness seems to live in here and can't get out. And that's the trick. It's stuck inside. It's doomed. The next principle is the home of good and evil. Right and wrong are subjective opinions that I hold. They don't exist out there in nature on their own. And it's important for me to work hard at maintaining them and developing and maintaining them and having good, sound foundations that I can form and rest them upon. Otherwise, they're on shifting sands that may not be sound. Then comes the principle of purpose, and which has 3 sub-principles, 3 sub-purpose, if you like. Number 1 is the purpose of being a good husband and father, my number 1 purpose, most important. 2 is being a virtuous man, although it's linked to number 1. It's part and parcel of number 1. And then 3 is whatever personal purpose I choose for my life, which for me is the continued work to share the Good Life Creed. Next comes the atomic principle. Everything in the universe is made of bits and pieces, atoms, molecules, and compounds that in the end will fall to pieces. So too you and me. And then the principle of nature. Everything in the universe and everyone have some particular nature, some way of being, some characteristics, some trajectory, some inertia. And if I can identify what that is and how that works, then I'll be better prepared to deal with people in a more legitimate, honest, and accurate way. Next comes the pirate ride. Just a simple suggestion that free will isn't a thing. We're not free. We are connected to everything going on around us. We are like dominoes falling over on a long string of of chips, whatever you call them. I can't prove that, but I strongly suspect it's true. Next comes the principle of nature. Maturity. Maturity is that state we reach when we there are three sub-principles. We reach that state when we are wise, when we have the experience of our life, and we have the fortitude, the strength to to avoid our mistakes and to perpetuate or to further our successes. And what we get in the result, this is the third sub-principle, what we gain is the integrity of a life where the fruits of our life are in alignment with our values. Big goal there. Next comes the social principle. We are social creatures. We need each other. And then the principle of family. Oh, and then there's sub-principles under the social principles. Sorry, I'm going a little fast. The sub-principles there are diplomacy, working together, justice, the aim we seek, and conspiracy, the linking of arms to achieve the ends of justice. Then comes the principle of family. Family is our unit that we create, whether it be through putting a ring on someone or creating a family from there, or by just the association of friends. Whatever the case may be, it's good to have family. And then public speaking. I think I missed that one yesterday, didn't I? Yeah. Public speaking is an important principle that talks about the need to develop our communication skills, to listen well, and to speak well, and to also cultivate the faculties of reading. Public speaking sub-principles are, now there's a lot of them, I think there's 5. Let's see if I can get them all. It's best words, developing a good vocabulary so that we can choose the right words for the moment, not the flashy or the showy ones, but just the best ones. Boy, I don't think I can remember what these are. It's been so long since I've recited them, but I can cheat, I can look in the book. And you can get a copy of this book if you want on Amazon or at my website, goingalone.org. Public speaking sub-principles are best words. Prudence is the next one. Prudence is the filter that we use to filter our communication through our values. Felicity. Felicity is our ability to spin our words with our emotion. Spin's not the right thing to say. Flavor it with our emotion. Eloquence, which is gained of study and modeling and trying. So I, for once, really enjoy watching very good speakers speak, and then I learn from them. And then the next sub-principle is literature, which is our recommendation to read, but read well. And then rumor and gossip, which are the 2 negative ones to avoid, so that we don't sin against our worldview. That'll come in just a minute. Next comes temperance, which is the first of, I think it's 3 or 4 principles. There's temperance, which is our ability to control our consumption, and the sub-principles there are suffering, simplicity, and apathy, because we suffer when we tell ourselves no, and a simple life is a temperate life, and apathy is the capacity that we have to disconnect ourselves from those things that are beyond our reach in terms of emotional connection, to not getting upset at a sudden downpour of water from the sky, not getting upset over a flat tire, etc., etc. Things that are kind of outside of our reach of control. All we can do is react to them. I think I covered that. After temperance comes, life will not go well. A reminder that life will not go well. It's going to have a lot of trouble. The next principle is the horror show. This is a further reminder beyond the fact that life will not go well, that life also includes horror, which is happening all around us. And it's coming for us too. The next principle is called that which must be borne, B-O-R-N-E, carried. And what we have to carry is the fact that life will not go well, and the fact that the horror show is happening and coming for us. The next principle is called the Feast of Offal, which is my description of what happens when we get upset and we loose that upset upon our loved ones and friends. It's a nasty thing to do. So I try to avoid that. I used to do it when I was 20 years ago, when I was much younger. I used to have tantrums. I don't do that anymore. I still have the emotions to a lesser degree, but I deal with them in other ways. I don't make my family my sounding board for the emotion of the day. Pardon me. Okay, after that one comes, is it distraction? That's right. Distraction is something that we do to avoid seeing that the universe seems to be empty and devoid of any God or gods. We're on our own. So we distract ourselves with all the things that we do in our lives, our school and our jobs and our hobbies and our sports and our politics and our God. All great distraction, so that we don't have to witness the nothing, that I call the great indifference. Next comes the best seat in the house. A simple reminder to strive to be satisfied with where I am and who I am and what I'm doing in every moment, while working to improve. Next comes the restless man, a sense that we feel, man or woman, at the time of our life, in our late teens and early 20s, that we start to feel like we want something more, we want some adventure in life. I call that the restlessness that comes, and then if we choose to heed that, to do something about it, we step upon the next principle, the path of wildness, which is a way forward and upward and through and into new life. The yield and gain of stepping upon the path of wildness in earnest and following through is what I call a great life adventure, which is the story that we make of our lives by virtue of the courage that we had to venture upon the path of wildness. And then the last, these are four principles that go together, right? The restless man, the path of wildness, the great life adventure. Number 4, the last one, is the risk of avoiding risk, which is a spectrum of risk from safety to adventure, and the consequence of not engaging, not balancing that out in some way. We can go too far on the safety and then have a longing for adventure all of our lives, or too far for adventure and wind up in a rather challenging and maybe even desperate position of never being able to rest later in life because we didn't plan for the future. It's good to find a balance between those two. Of the two, if I was going to go too far one way or the other, I'd go too far with the adventure. I'd rather work till I'm dead than be sitting in retirement, safe and comfortable in my stifling room, wondering about the life that I could have had. Give me the latter. The former. Okay, so there's that. Next comes sin and damnation. There are 8 sins in my worldview, and these are related to being untrue, or believing things too readily, or being spreading rumors or engaging in gossip. Namely, falsity, being untrue; credulity, believing things too easily; faith, belief that's founded upon belief, which is nonsense; superstition, more nonsense; dogma, belief founded upon tradition; authority, belief founded upon charisma or the being impressed by some personality or office; rumor, nasty thing to do; gossip, nastier still. The consequence of any of these sins is damnation in the here and now, because there is no afterlife. After that comes complete oblivion, no afterlife. And if there is no afterlife, then that means there'll be no final reunion. We won't see our loved ones ever again. No final reconciliation. We'll never have a chance to make ends, because we won't see anybody ever again, because once we're dead, that's the end of us. We go to oblivion. And then finally, no final justice. The evil get away with their deeds if they weren't punished during their lifetime, and the good are not rewarded after they're dead. All they get is whatever satisfaction or benefits they gained in the course of their life. So watch out, just this one chance. So after that comes the principle called the season of philosophy, which is a time of life to begin to record whatever words come of us, of the experience of life. Have a pencil and paper ready, or a camera, or a recorder, or a guitar, or whatever you want to do to capture and express whatever thoughts you have along the way. But do it one in the moment, because they pass and then they're gone forever. Next comes script writing, which is an interesting little tool and technique that can be used to forecast the minutes, hours, days, and even years ahead, to plan them out, so that we can model our way into a better life. Model by modeling after the expectation and the plan that we set for ourselves about how we're going to live and behave and do. Then comes the principle called the bullseye aim. I put that deliberately after script writing because I want to remind myself that even though I may lay out a plan for the perfect meeting, I should expect to not make that necessarily, that something will happen along the way that won't quite be perfect. Like last night's Go Live event. It did go very well, but we had a couple of speed bumps. That's to be expected. That's the bullseye aim. Not getting upset when I miss the bullseye mark, but instead being delighted when it does happen, and even surprised. Next comes the uphill climb, steady climb upward and forward through life, finishing the day with a better vista of the great expansive life than I had the day before. Arena and utility is next. Life is an arena for the development of our objectives and principles that we can use to help us to live a better life, and then to utilize these throughout the day by keeping them tuned, sharp, oiled, and handy. Next is nothing is enough. A deep pool of potential meaning here that I haven't quite begun to explore, but at this point I simply hold it as a simple reminder towards simplicity, and I'm all right with that at this point. I think I'll explore this one. I'll have a chance to explore this one when I get back to Japan. I anticipate that's one of my chores, one of my tasks, delightfully so, that I'll get to take on. Now the 34th and final principle is called the principle of fun. A reminder to enjoy the day, as well as the remembrance of yesterday, and the forecast and plans for good times tomorrow and beyond. That's it. That's the Good Life Creed. Again, all of these items, 7 objectives and 34 principles, are categorically enumerated in my book, Going Alone, in the chapter called The Good Life. My last thing I need to do this morning is to plan for the coming day. What challenges and opportunities might I meet, and what plan do I have? Well, typically, as I sit at my desk a little later, I'll actually write out all the items that I'm going to do today. But at a broad level, I'll get up now, I'll do all my normal morning chores, my morning routines, and by 6:30 or 7, I usually start work at 6:30, but given that it's my Friday on, I'll start a little later. I'll start at 7 o'clock, and I'll get to work and do my work, finished by 3:30, and then I'll enjoy the afternoon, and I'll begin the weekend with my wife. We have chores and our shopping, and I'll do lots of reading. I spend time with my dogs and my wife and my daughter if she comes over. And somewhere in there, Yumiko and I will find a nice restaurant to go explore. That'll be fun. I think that's it. So with that, thanks for joining me. Be safe, but not too safe. And now my life is done, if not finished. Take care.